State Capture Commission of Inquiry in Parktown, Johannesburg this morning. He'll be the second witness to testify about alleged corruption and maladministration within the country's law enforcement agencies. Booysen's testimony follows that of former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride. McBride elaborated how state security agencies allegedly were used to conceal corruption. The former IPID boss narrated how the Hawks team used to harass and interfere with IPID officials who were investigating corruption and maladministration in the South African Police Service. All right, let's get more on the story now and bring in SABC's Manqoba Mchunu, who's live for us in Parktown, Johannesburg. Hey, you crept up on me. Hi, how you doing, Manqoba? Thank you very much indeed for your time. Just give us a sense. Let's just start from yesterday morning. It was, I guess, a big blow for the former SARS boss, Moyane. Just remind our viewers in terms of the decision handed down by the Deputy Chief Justice, the chairperson of the Commission.
Well, certainly, Blaine, it was a big blow for Moyane, who had tried to apply to cross-examine Pravin Gordhan on some of the allegations that he had raised during his testimony here at the State Capture Commission. Among them that Moyane did not take authority from the then finance minister, and among other allegations as well, including that of an irregular tender that he was involved in. And of course, the judge saying that Mr. Moyane had failed to try and convince this particular commission that it was in the best interest of the commission for that cross-examination to be heard. And of course, also saying that he also did not show parts of the statement that implicated him from that testimony that was given by Pravin Gordhan when he came to this particular commission. And in those regards, the judge saying that he had simply failed to meet the regulations and some of the requirements that are needed for one to be able to apply successfully for cross-examination. And those were the basis that this particular application was then dismissed by this commission. But of course, Mr. Moyane, at this point, one of the issues that was raised that the judge still wants clarity on is the issue of malice, in which Pravin Gordhan had claimed that Moyane acted with malice when he opened the criminal charges against him with regards to the rogue unit. So that's an issue that's still outstanding that will require both parties to make submissions before the commission. And of course, Mr. Moyane might have a chance to also come before this commission if he chooses to do so, if he wants to come and testify.
Yeah, this is, it's important to separate. This is not a court of law, so there's different rules in terms of a commission and a court of law. In terms of what recourse does Moyane have, is there an appeal process that he could use?
Well, Ben, according to what the chair had said here is that according to the regulations, and in particular Regulation 8.4, it is really it is really up to the chairperson of the commission to really decide whether to accept an application for cross-examination based on whether it is deemed to be necessary or whether it's in the best interest of the work of the commission. So those are the two factors that have to be factored here. So with regards to that, the chairperson did make it clear that he had failed to show how his application will be in the best interest of the working of this particular commission. In fact, saying that he had raised his own accusations, which were not necessarily allegations or implicating him in the testimony that Pravin Gordhan had made. So at this point, it seems as if the only way he can come back here to this commission is if he will elect to give testimony here.
Look, we had Robert McBride wrapping up his testimony yesterday. Initially, we thought it was just going to be for 2 days, but he was on the stand for about 4 days. How would you sum up his testimony?
Well, I think Blaine, his testimony highlighted the rogueness within the police force, how some of those policemen were involved in harassing IPID members or IPID officers who were investigating sensitive cases, including those of the former acting police commissioner, Khumutlo Pahlane, as well as how some of those law enforcement agencies were pitted against each other in what was to be a war between senior officials, those who were involved in alleged corruption, opening cases and counter cases against those who were contempt on fighting corruption. So he painted a picture of police services that is really involved in corruption as well as patronage, saying that those are some of the things that had led to the image that we find the South African police in at this stage, and saying that, of course, there was a witch hunt against those who were corruption busters at the time by those who were contempt on serving their own interests.
So the former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks boss taking the stand, Johan Booysen, what can we expect?
Well, plain, we expect the same trajectory as that of the former IPID boss, Robert McBride, with regards to the issue of how the media was used as part of a campaign, a misinformation campaign, if I could put it that way, against some of those officials who were contempt on fighting corruption. You recall that General Booysen himself was implicated or was somehow involved or said to be involved in the so-called Ketomena death squad. And you recall that there were several newspaper articles that had been issued back in 2012 about his involvement in that particular unit that was used to carry out extrajudicial killings in KwaZulu-Natal. And of course, also, we expect him to also go deep into the issue of how the NPA, and especially the then deputy NPA boss, Manqoba Mchunu, was also involved in trying to make up criminal charges against Booysen with regards to several issues. We know that in 2012 there were racketeering charges that were laid against General Booysen, and of course that's stemming from some of the sensitive investigations that had been carrying out at the time, one of them involving a Durban businessman, Ravichandran Pillay, who of course was involved in an irregular tender worth 28 million rand involving the 2010 World Cup accommodation for police. So those are some of the issues that we expect him to speak about. But more than that, we also expect to hear more of how the police were used, and some of the police officials and law enforcement agencies were used in this so-called witch hunt against those who were corruption busters at the time.
Yeah, interesting day ahead. I understand the commission will kick off at about 10 o'clock today, and from what I heard from Advocate Paul Pretorius yesterday, Johan Booysen will maybe take today and maybe 2 hours of tomorrow. So we'll try to catch up with you around 10 o'clock. Manqoba Mchunu, live for us in Parktown, Johannesburg. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting.